What's going on, people? Welcome to episode 24 of the Hip Hop Orchestra Presents. I'm joined by one of the most amazing people, one of my closest friends, MC Janset. How you doing?
Hello, George. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. It's been a long time, ain't it?
It has been a long time, definitely.
Very long time. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. You know what? Crazy times, but
Crazy times. Crazy.
like absolutely crazy. But 2020 has just been insane. Insane, I'm sure for everybody, but in different ways. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I can't complain. I still can't complain. I still feel like the energies are right.
Yeah.
You know, trying to do our best to keep positive and whatnot. So
Wicked.
Yeah.
Wicked. How's lockdown been for you? For your music as well?
Lockdown's been all right. Like, as I said to you earlier, it's like I'm just trying to take this time to kind of have time for yourself and to rest and to look after the immune system and to just, not stress like I was before.
Yeah.
I think at the start of it, where everybody had, of course, it was like horrible, it was so chaotic at that time, but it's like all I could really do is just think about me and my mum and just literally take the time out. So I know during lockdown, a lot of people were doing like online gigs and stuff, weren't they?
Yeah. Did you do any? Did you do any?
No.
None.
No, I'm finding it all a bit weird, man. Like this whole doing gigs online and Zoom chats and people are kind of performing. It's like I haven't been able to connect with it in like that. Like I think maybe as an MC, it's like you need the DJ there or like a live set. Like if you do like an acoustic thing, then your band members are there. But on your own, I just felt like, I don't know. I think everybody's got a different view on it, right? So I appreciate everyone who's got my own thing. I was just like, I'm not trying to do a gig where it's gonna start reconnecting and stuff in between. And
of course.
So I kind of stayed back from it. I got a few offers and I was like, guys, thank you so much, but I just rather not. Like, I just want to do it live when we can and let's hope for the best kind of thing. So I was creating a lot, but not performing.
How's the creating process going for you at home?
It's going well. Luckily, I think for everybody that's got a studio in their house, it's worked out, right? Like even when you're in lockdown, you can still do stuff in the middle of the night. I wake up sometimes, have ideas and stuff, but just focusing on like trying to produce my own stuff as well and not like rely on anybody else and make like complete songs just out of fucking nowhere. So
You know, it is because I hate your stuff on live, obviously, and what you put on Insta. Sick. Sick. And what you sent me as well was like some fire next level stuff, man. Amazing. I loved it. Like, oh my God, this stuff's like next level. Like, it's all right. How would you, like, I've got to ask you actually, how would you kind of describe your sound? Obviously, you produce an MC as well. What's that kind of like your sound, do you reckon? Is it more grime? Is it more this? Or what do you reckon?
I would say it's like I write quite like positive music, but that's quite hard, if you know what I mean. Like, it's got quite a harsh and a dark feel to it, but then the message I try to give is always just like positive, if you know what I mean, because I know that the type of music that I do, it has this kind of preconception that it's quite egotistical, or grime is quite look at me, look at what I've got, this is what I'll do to you, blah blah blah. And I'm just trying to like break those definitions of it and really just try to see like people can express themselves in different ways. I wouldn't be able to do like a soft song on a grime tune, you know what I mean? But I try to make it as like positive as possible, innit? Like so everybody can kind of listen to it, so it's more accessible and stuff. But
brilliant, man.
It's kind of a mix match.
Sick. But before we get into that kind of stuff, let's take it back. And how did you actually get into music yourself?
So I started writing when I was about 12 or 13 when I was in school. I went to quite a rough school as well, a school that's like closed down now. If anybody remembers, it was Salisbury.
Wow.
So I went to Salisbury back in the day. So it was one of those ones like, I kind of saw people around me in the playground and my friends at school. The grime wasn't grime then, obviously. It was just these beats that people were putting out from UK garage, kind of, it was changing. And I remember those years like 2002, 2001, kind of those times. I just kind of remember looking around and thinking, no girls are doing this. Like nobody's writing. Like most of the females that I knew, they were dancing, they were singing, but they weren't really like rapping. They were writing raps or trying to memorize other people. So I started off by like getting like Missy Elliott lyrics and like there was like Mystique and stuff like back then. And, like I don't know, listening to all these people, Lady Dynamite, and like trying to memorize their bars and just realizing it's like this is fun. And I used to speak quite fast anyway, so everyone used to be like, you sound like you're rapping. Right? So then it got to a point when I realized, I was like, yeah, I kind of like writing poetry. I was writing poetry from a very young age, and then kind of just put two and two together and thought, if I could listen to these beats and write on top of these beats instead of doing it to no music at all, then. So I never really had that thing where I wanted to be a rapper, but I liked writing all the time. So it kind of just started happening. I started writing bars like really young. I was really embarrassed at first. I didn't tell anyone for years. Like, until it got to like maybe the end, I think when I was in like year 11. By this point, it's like maybe 2005, 2004 times, And then I started just telling people, I was like, yeah, I've got bars, you know, like, and then luckily, like my friends at the time were very supportive, like they all started memorizing it, gassing me up, like, like, so yeah, it just kind of started from me wanting to express myself, I think, and then realizing that the UK had something to offer as well back then, like realizing that this music was ours and we're, you know, like Wiley's and that, we were making these beats at the time, and it was just felt so much like home rather than us always listening to American music. And it was something that we never thought would happen, but look at the change now, like 15 years later, it's like how they're looking to us now, and it's kind of on the balance in, so it just kind of started from that, from poetry into crazy grime bars.
Crazy, because obviously we met at BBC One Extra, which I want to talk about in a minute. But you mentioned about Miss Dynamite, Missy Elliott, and obviously Mystique as well. Were they big influences you growing up as well?
I think it was at those times, like adding in like Redman and I don't know, Common and Mos Def and all these people. I started listening to it from quite young, Tupac and stuff like that, because I had an older brother. I think that kind of helped as well. He was like 7 years older than me, so he would show me a lot of stuff that people my age weren't listening to then. And but yeah, they were big influences, including Twista. Do you remember him?
Of course I remember Twista. Like, I wanted to be like a female Twista. Have you tried like rapping that fast yet? Like, obviously how fast he is, but
yeah. You know what? I had to listen to him the other day. I had to literally like just stop and say, this guy was a genius. Like,
he was.
Just got
I think I remember the one choose to rinse when I was at secondary school. I think it was tip of my tongue.
yeah.
And I think he broke a record for like the fastest rap or something, didn't he?
Yeah, man. It was amazing. Yeah.
It was. Definitely. And now, talk about fast rapping though. Have you heard? We must have done that tune, Worldwide Choppers.
You know what? I'm so bad, man. I'm so bad. Who's it by?
It's literally some of the fastest rappers in the world. Actually, it's Twista, Yellow Wolf, Busta Rhymes, all around the world on one track. It is mental. My mate Mehmet showed me actually. Sick. Shout out to my boy Mehmet, by the way. But if you like that kind of fast rapping, it's literally every fast rapper in the world on one track. Mental.
I'll definitely check it out.
Check it. I linked it after.
Yeah, please.
But you know what? Let's talk about BBC One Extra and how that came about. How did you get offered to be part of it?
So me and Cyan Anderson knew each other anyway from back then. So she was like really supportive of my music. When I dropped my first EP, I had a song on there called Sorted It Out, my first solo EP, and she like really supported that track and played it around on Rinse FM. And so I think when this thing was coming around, when she had this project in mind, she just shouted me and said, yeah, Jan, there's this like grime orchestra that we're trying to do. So I had no idea of like what it was going to be, what was expected. I didn't know anything kind of. She was just like, yeah, please, can you make it on this day at this time? Yeah. And then you kind of just get the gist when we get there, what's going to happen. So I actually came there with no expectation, not knowing anything. And then when we got there, I was like, oh, wow, this is actually happening. This is like Made-of-All Studios. There's a lot of people here. I remember coming in and you were like one of the first people I saw. I was on my own like, what's happening? And then I saw the piano and you was by the piano. I was like,
no! I remember when you were playing some wicked piece on the piano and I joined in with you, didn't I? I remember. And then straight we're like, did we start becoming like best friends? Like straight away. Like, we got a link after this, 100%. Like, that was wicked though. But you know, obviously you performed the classic P's and Q's as Jevin, didn't you? Shout out to Jevin, by the way, as well. Like, I can't remember what time we got there though, but in terms of the tracks they gave you, did it offer you like loads of tracks leading up to it, or just on the day?
On the day, literally while we was there, it was going to be like, oh, you guys, or I think she might have told me maybe the night before that it was going to be on P's and Q's. So I think I did know her. She told me when I got there. She was like, "You guys are gonna have this one," which was cool. But it's just like took us maybe a couple minutes to think about what bars we was gonna put on top and stuff like that. But yeah, I didn't really have much time to like prepare for it or anything like that. So, but I guess like you don't really need it once you know the tempo of the song. You know, like it's gonna be fine. So yeah, it was quite exciting actually not to have like much of a brief from before. Because then when I got there, I just didn't have a clue, and then it just turned out even better.
Yeah, so, it was amazing, man. Still to this day, it's one of my favourite ever experiences. Though made a see the BBC One Extra, amazing, amazing. And like yourself, though, what's that?
So well, all of you guys played so well. You had like a week to figure all that stuff out.
Yeah, right? Like literally, we got the call about 2 weeks before the actual showing itself, and then exactly a week before we got the set list. So. About a week, exactly a week before, where every night after work, I would literally write the tracks out, get all the parts ready, and then the following Monday, when we got there, we actually rehearsed the tracks on the day. So when the artist went with yourself or Will was coming in, we'd have a quick little run through the track, and then straight into filming. And that's what people don't realise is people think that you have like loads of time to like prepare and stuff. Nope. Literally a week or so, week to write all the music out, turn up on the day, quick rehearsal, film it, done. And that's, like you said, I kind of prefer that. I sometimes prefer that kind of last minute pressure, like, okay, we've got like a couple of days to get things ready, do it, turn up, practice, done. And that's why I appreciate the talent of people like yourself and the people I work with in the orchestra, because they're so sick, so amazing, because it literally just quick run through, tell them what's needed as well, this is tempo, play it straight away, and it's done. Yeah, but how much pressure though did you have any pressure while you were there actually about what to do in terms of bars and the rest of it?
Well, to be honest, once I knew the beat, I kind of was familiar with it. I think if it was another beat that I wasn't familiar with, sometimes you can feel like, oh, I don't know when it's going to drop. I don't know the build up, and that can make you think. But I feel like I learned early on that putting pressure on yourself in any way doesn't help. Well, doesn't help me anyway in terms of remembering bars or like knowing which one. I just go on like intuition. So I'm like, okay, this one feels like it's going to fit. So even when imagine like being midway through a set, and songs are just playing continuously, you don't know what song's going to come up, and it's just that I think it goes with the job where you have to be ready and kind of have these in a certain compartment that's easy to reach to, if you know what I mean. But if you ask me what I ate yesterday, I'll struggle to tell you. Like I've got other memory stuff where I'm like, I don't know, but that stuff has its like own place. So I didn't feel pressured. The only thing that made me laugh, I remember one of the guys just completely with good intentions, but he was like, "What are you here to do?" Like he couldn't believe I was there to MC as well. And I was like, "What do you think? I'm not going to sing a ballad."
Right, I didn't know that. What?
Yeah, it was kind of cute though, because I realized he wasn't like, you know, if it was another female, maybe they might have took offense to it. I know he didn't mean it in a rude way, but he just sort of like, "Wait, are you here to MC as well?" I was like, "Yeah, bro, that's what I do. I'm an MC. Like, I can't sing, so they're not put me to sing." So yeah.
See, because you were the only female, weren't you, for female MC of the whole sessions? Wow. That's
I was very grateful, man, that she thought of me. Like, there was many other people she could have invited. I was very, very grateful. Like,
and you absolutely smashed it, honestly. Really proud of you. That was so good, so good. But talk about kind of memory sort of stuff. How do you memorize so many lyrics in your mind? Do you have a special technique of memorizing different things? Or is it just repeat it and repeat until you memorize it?
Do you know what I actually do that really helps me, that I've realized in the last couple of years that is a good way for me to learn it? For example, I will spit the song and record it and then listen to the recording of my own voice and then learn it like that, as opposed to just spitting it over and over and over. I'd listen to a recording of me doing it, and then that seems to help me a little bit. So I've got like 1 million voice recordings on the phone. I'll listen to it. If I don't like it, I'll re-record it. But in that time, it's like the repetition of hearing your own voice, I think, as well, and not just the beat. That definitely helps. But I think it's like almost like you have to sacrifice like not remembering certain things to remember so much lyrics. As I'm getting older, I'm realizing that. So birthdays and stuff not so good with me. Appointments I have to write down otherwise. But funny enough, I just won't forget the lyrics. But I know everyone's got like different ways of doing that, but for me it's just repetition. And maybe repeating it before you go to sleep as well is a big thing, for it to like sink into your mind, and then when you wake up in the morning, try again and it should be better, it should be more thinking, like,
Yeah, I did similar stuff when I practiced my piece on the piano and stuff, or wherever it might be, where this would repeat until I can't do it no more. And then the next day it's just sunk in, and then I can play it again. Because there's been times where I've learned like some next level pieces on the piano, I get to a point where I can't play it no more. Because like my mind's like fried, and then the next day, next thinking I'll play it perfect, thinking, what the hell? That's mental. Mental.
It is, man. The human mind, isn't it? It's just like, how does it even put it into a place where you're going to be able to reach it the next day easily? And it's amazing.
It is. That's why I do a lot of reading on the brain and music as well, about how the brain actually works with it kind of thing. Because I know that the brain, we both know that the brain is such an incredible thing, isn't it? To memorize so many things and to like learn different languages or learn different things and pick things up like that it's incredible. And to think we're not really using like 10% of our brain as well, thinking, what? That is... Yeah,
I'm trying to unlock the rest. I'm like, come on, girl.
I want the limitless pill. 100% of the brain.
Amazing.
That would be
I'm looking
sick.
for that as well. If you find that, give me some.
That'd be sick. But
so good.
Yeah, man. Like, what would be some of your favourite events that you performed at over the years? Because you've done things like obviously Tyler Soft as well, Find the Booth, that kind of thing. And obviously done some amazing video shoots, which we'll get to after as well. Like, what would be some of your kind of favourite things that you've done for your journey so far?
Event-wise, there's one up there actually that Mem was involved in as well.
Is it? Sick.
When was it? Was it last year or year before last? Maybe I want to say year before last. I said to them guys, to my band, I said, let's go to like Berlin or somewhere, just like either Holland or Germany. Let's just pick a place and go and try to get a gig there. So I kind of picked Berlin because I wanted to go back. I'd been once before. I know that Mem and them lot hadn't been. I was like, you know what, let's bloody do it,
Yeah.
So we organised the whole thing. Didn't know where we was going to do a gig still, but we took all our instruments. We done rehearsals from beforehand. We got to Berlin. It was like, Jan, where's the gig? I was like, you know what, it's coming. Like, I had this thing where I had a few contacts that someone gave me and was like, you know, like message them when you're out there and see what happens. Long story short, it was on the Saturday, maybe about 10 o'clock at night. We still hadn't had anything confirmed. And I got a text message saying, you guys, I've got a slot for you at midnight tonight.
Wow.
We were literally like, what is happening? Like, after we got into that mode, we was kind of chilling, thinking it's kind of late, we might not. Long story short, we've done a quick little rehearsal and I was like, let's just go. Yeah. It was one of the most exciting kind of like ways to find a gig, because when we got there, it was like a castle almost, with like 4 floors. There was clubs in there, but then everybody was like a magician. Wow. So it was like a magician's kind of festival where people were like juggling jars from Venezuela, and then there was another guy who was throwing fire into the air, putting it out with water, like so many crazy stuff. And we was the only act that actually done music.
Really?
But it attracted so much attention because everybody was just watching all these like stuff, which was divine as well, by the way. We was all like had our mouths open, just like, I can't believe it's happening.
Yeah.
And then we managed to perform before this like guy that was juggling the vases. So it was such a weird kind of, it's like you went back in time into another time zone or like into another realm, like the lights in there, this stuff. It was one of the most exciting gigs we've done because the audience was so different as well. They didn't expect music, so when we started to play, it was just like amazing.
That's so sick.
That was one of the most funniest ones we've done, actually. Like really spontaneous, kind of like last minute, and we couldn't actually believe we got a gig in the end. And big up Ono Capono for that one, because he really helped out. But yeah, apart from that, I'd say like over the years there's been so many random gigs. Like Norway, I remember performing in a university in Norway where they had like 16 different hidden bars inside the university.
Wow.
And only the people that go to the uni, you would find these spots. So you go through a door that leads you to another door, and it was really fun performing there to these kids as well. That was maybe about 5-6 years ago. But there's many venues. I'd say when I was in Stinkerbo as well, which was like a dubstep duo, we done a lot of stuff with Anton at the time, a lot of like gigs in Holland as well, in Germany at the time. So yeah, just many memories, man. I can't even like delve into like because in my mind I could just like see all these different ones, but it's definitely performing in different countries like has another appeal to it, like a new appeal that usually you're used to kind of going to the clubs here, or you're used to going to bars here and everybody kind of knows. But when you're presented with like a different audience, it's like you have to kind of sometimes speak clearer when you spit. You have to pick the right songs that they would kind of like. So it's fun doing that, I'd say. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to get into that actually, like how you feel about performing in different countries. Do you find it really fun, or like I said, really difficult to perform because of the accents, like little accents, or you're speaking clearer, or how do you find it?
I would say it's got its pros and cons. Like sometimes you're used to a certain energy that you get from the UK, let's say, in an audience. You're used to that. You would go to a European country, for example. I remember it happening in France once. Like you won't get that same energy. They would want different types of music, for example. So I think you have to. It's our jobs in that moment to kind of gauge what's happening and to be able to understand that, you know, in that stage to maybe put on something faster or slower and to kind of adhere like to the people that's listening to you, obviously. So I think the longer you do that in a DJ set kind of environment, then you can kind of like gauge it. So I think it's very fun though. It's very, very fun, and I would love to like go to more and more countries to do it.
Amazing. Have you learned like a lot from each country that you've been to? You've performed quite a lot of countries, haven't you? Have you learned from each one that you performed at? Definitely. I've learned also how to work with promoters as well, and like how to get the best out of a situation and not to, you know what I mean, like not to say yes to things if it's not safe, like because I've had many years of experience where, you know, we was put in a country, for example, and we didn't have no guidance on how to get to this event. We were left on our own to make our way, and it's like stuff like that can be quite daunting, and especially when you're first kind of starting out. To get stuff written in paper and stuff like that, do you know what I mean? It's so important. I think especially for new artists coming around, like not to just get happy about the gig itself, but to make sure every part is covered and you're covered as well. So I've learned a lot in that way. But in terms of like culture that you get from other countries as well, it's really interesting. It's really heartwarming, like when they welcome you and, you know, they don't have a clue who you are, but they've just heard your music, and the fact they can support from all parts of the world as well, I think it's so magical. Like, it is. That's amazing. Yeah. Where's kind of like the dream country for you to perform at? If you have one. Yeah.
Good question, George.
Thank you.
I definitely want to perform in Goa. I know there's like a big hip hop festival in Goa, and I keep hearing about how magical the whole thing is. I would love to. Dream place though, it's a hard one. It's a hard one. I would love to perform like grime in like China and Japan. I know they've got big scenes out there as well where they like proper following it, and I would love that. I would love to perform in like Russia. Like they've got a strong grime scene out there as well. Like obviously parts of America definitely. Seeing this like one of the biggest countries, that would be cool. But I know their club and their like rave system works different there, so even to get like it's more like a concert than it is a gig where we were doing a bar and stuff. So it's very different out there, and the visas and stuff are a bit more difficult now. But definitely, man, I'd love to. China and Japan is on my
sick. Japan for me has always been a dream of mine as well to go to Japan. Oh my god, if you could go out there and perform there, that would be sick. So sick. We're just making it go together. Yeah. But you know what? Another thing I love about your everything you do is your ability to mix obviously Turkish and English together as well in some of the tracks that you've done, which is sick. It's something I've never heard before. How did people kind of gravitate towards it? Do people love it? That kind of Turkish English?
Well, it's funny. It's like I started doing that. Maybe the first one I did was in 2015. The first track I wrote was Dropping Them Bombs, and I was just sitting there, and the type of producer had sent me a beat. And then I was kind of just playing around writing in English as I usually do, and then it just dawned to me when I was writing it, I was like, if I just write everything in English and write one Turkish word at the end and just rhyme that Turkish word, then it's going to be bilingual in a crazy way. Like people don't usually do that. They'll do like one verse, one language, and then the other verse will be like Spanish or whatever they do. So when I kind of figured out that I could write like that and it wasn't as hard as I thought, that's when it's like all the light bulbs kind of went in my head. I was like, yeah, I could do it to appeal to two types of people rather than one. But the only thing that happens now is that the more I'm coming up in the Turkish scene in Turkey now as well, they want me to write full Turkish songs, for example.
Oh, really?
Like from start to end. And I'm kind of explaining, I'm like, Turkish is just the language I know. It's not actually my family from Chechnya, from Circassia, so it's not actually my first mother language. English is, and then I learned Turkish. I know it very well enough to speak, but I'm not that comfortable writing whole songs.
Oh, really?
I'm comfortable doing that in English because that's my like, but it's very difficult to write it a whole song. So the only thing I'm having is like a couple of fans kind of reaching out saying, we want full tracks, this is not fair. I'm like, oh, like, you don't have to bear with me. Like I can do a lot more Turkish with still English words, but I think it's gonna be like a natural progression, if you know what I mean. So if I do end up writing it, that would be out of me being comfortable to do so. But at the minute, it's just fun doing both because I know it's not something that's been done a lot, and it's very fun writing it. Like my mind gets a bit like, you get a bit tired at the end of it because your mind starts to go to two languages. And I read a lot of studies on this. Apparently, if you keep flipping between two languages, like that, it can really affect your fatigue levels for your brain. And I thought, wow, like no wonder sometimes I'm feeling that like after a gig and stuff, but very worth it because it's all about the fun.
Yeah, of course it is. Like, I'm going to talk about fun as well, actually. Now, what are some of the most fun things that you look forward to when performing? Is it the audience feedback or just the whole experience of performing? What things do you look forward to for each event?
Well, it depends. If it's like a DJ MC set that I do, it's just about making that club go crazy, right? So it's just about you feel like you've got a purpose there, like not just to rap and to show off your skills, but to make the DJ's music sound better, to make them have a good time. So it is very engaging, like being an MC, I think, and knowing how to kind of run it, knowing when to shut up and when to talk, and because a lot of MCs can go wrong in that way, in my opinion, where I look and I'll be like, bro, you're overdoing it, like I can't even hear the music. So it's knowing, I think, how to balance it. When it's a live gig, it's making sure that the band, obviously everyone's in sync, and then you giving the right signals. Like I was struggling with that a lot. You can ask them at first, where you'll be like, Jan, you're not giving us signals. I'm like, what signals? Because I'm so used to kind of doing stuff on my own as an MC. So then I learned, like, okay, it's very important for them to know, like, when my voice is going to change or stuff like that. So yeah, it's just, you learn as you do it, I guess. And but what I aim for is for everybody in the room to kind of go away with like maybe feeling a better way than they was when they entered. Do you know what I mean? Or if it's supposed to be emotional, for them to feel that emotion. If it's supposed to be gassy and hype, then for them to feel feeling happy, basically. I
know that the band thing was a fairly recent thing, wasn't it? Was it about a year ago you made the band or so? Was it about a year ago?
It was actually 3-4 years ago.
Where the hell has time gone?
Because it was quite a while back, actually, that we done our first gig, and then some of the members changed in the group and stuff like that. So now it's like really, really quiet live band wise. I think when it's an original band as well, like I thought that we would have so much more gig opportunities and stuff, but it seems like the cover world gets much more gigs in that way from the live aspect. When I didn't expect that, when I first got my band together, I thought, look, we're writing all our own songs, it's all original, it's nothing like it, because it's quite a fusion sound as well, isn't it? It's like hip hop and jazz and funk and reggae all kind of mixed up together. So sorry about the doors.
It's all right.
So I guess it was just, it's kind of got quieter, but we're still working on projects. We're working to get at least like an album or something to show. And I think once we have that, then that's going to be quite amazing. I just think for now it's a bit more difficult because we don't have material to show, even though we've got many, many songs that we play as a band. So so it's just about, for me, just writing and pushing it all forward, kind of like exposing it a lot more.
Wicked. Is that a dream project of yours to have your own complete album?
Yes, definitely. Like I would say, from the electronic world and from an acoustic point of view as well, because a lot of rappers don't have like a live band, and that's something that I've always dreamed of having. And to have some musicians involved, and to have them there backing me and stuff, I feel really grateful. But I also know that most of the people in my band are quite busy as well with other band stuff, because most musicians don't just do one thing, do they? They do many projects that they're involved with. So I'm always out supporting that as well. I'm like, guys, when we can, we're going to do it. We're going to smash it. So hopefully, by the end of this year, hopefully that should be done.
Wicked. Sick one. That's wicked, man. Like, what things are you working on at the moment?
So at the moment, I am working on an album as well, on just the Janset album, like my first kind of big project. There's a few singles that's going to come out. Hopefully one of them will be coming out in America. Which has been very, very good, like going back and forth kind of in this lockdown period. So if that does happen very, very soon, that should be in the next couple of months. I just dropped a single as well with my friend Kylo.
I saw that. How's that going so far?
That's going really well as well. Yeah, we're sending it around to a lot of places, getting played on like Rinse FM and stuff like that. So it's good. It's good. That's
Congratulations.
Ongoing as well for like a year. So we got really happy like when it come out. It's just like finally it's out. Like just writing as much as I can really these days.
Wicked. Yeah. And I kind of like to ask as well, actually. Obviously, you mentioned earlier doing our BBC session together about someone obviously mistaking you, asking you like, without meaning to. What are the kind of most difficult things that you have to go through, especially as a kind of female MC in this industry?
Wow, a lot. Definitely a lot. It definitely teaches you to have like a tough skin, but that's, I feel like everybody in the music industry kind of needs that, for the amount of rejections that you get, and for the amount of, I try not to focus on the fact that I'm female. Do you know what I mean? I try not to make that a forefront of what I do, because it just doesn't help. It's not going to help basically anybody. The way I think about it is, I think I'm an MC. My skill and my talent and my push and my drive is the same. Being able to project your voice as a woman over loud music is very difficult, because we don't have bass as much as a guy does. So that's something that I feel like it takes years of practice, and stuff that, like singers, for example, if they was to come to a set over a grime or trap or, you know, something with quite a lot of bass, I've seen my friends struggle and been like, I can't hear, like I can't project the voice. I'm like, yeah, that takes a lot of like losing your voice and then realizing how to shout like safely, how to not overdo it, and like that I think is something that can be said to a gender, like to females that's probably going to be a bit more difficult. But in terms of like holding yourself well, not being uncomfortable around, like I've never had those issues, but I know some females can. Do you know what I mean? When you're in an environment where you're the only female, you have to kind of just not pay mind to it and not be fazed by that. In any way, whether that's a good thing or a bad. So, you know, some females might like being the only female in the room. I don't really pay much mind to it. I'm just like, hey, I'm here to do a job. I'm going to do my job, then I'm going to leave. So it's one of those ones. I feel like there are things that can get to us. Like if people do ask, for example, it's like if they're really shocked that you're an MC when you can't understand where that shock comes from, because it's like, of course I am. Like I've been doing it for 15 years, but they kind of just assume that you're a singer. And then when I sing, everybody cries because it's not good. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, and then I say, like, you see, it takes like someone to maybe get to know you and to get to know. Yeah, I mean, there are like preconceptions about the whole thing, but I try not to focus on it, man, because there's pros and cons for guys, for girls. There's so many things in the music industry that you just have to be mindful of. And if you're mindful of that, then it won't be a problem. I think now it's more acceptable than it was when I first started. When I first started, I didn't even want to tell people because it was just frowned upon. It wasn't even kind of the same like opportunities at the time. Do you know what I mean? And now I think that has changed. So people should try to focus on the positives of people are waking up that everybody can do this. Like, but yeah, I think it's about having that tough skin, but that goes for everyone, right? So once you've got them, then it doesn't really, I don't think it phases me much anymore.
Good.
And if anything, it makes me laugh, right? Like I take it in humor. I'm like, yeah, bro, like what do you think this is like?
And I think that's why people love you, because you're thick-skinned as well, and you do turn to humor as well, and you can hold yourself really well. So that's why I recommend what you do, and I'm really proud of everything that you've done and still doing to this day. So keep it up. Honestly, it's amazing. It's amazing.
I'm so proud of you as well. Like everything you've been doing over the years. Like so good to see you flourish. Like
thank you too. Though honestly, I love seeing the people that I love to death that are doing really well. And when I see like you do like a new single or a video, I was like, yes, that's my girl Jan over there. She's smashing it. I love it. And that's what people need to do as well there. I think people need to kind of just be happy for their friends as well and their family, because sometimes people do get a bit jealous, don't they? Thinking, why they're doing well, not knowing what we've got to deal, like you said, about what we've got to deal with behind the scenes, like the bullshit that basically deal with. It's not all fun and games. We've got to deal with shit in our own way, haven't we? And that's why when we finally get there, it's like the best feeling ever, isn't it? Like performing live or releasing on work or whatever it is. It's just an amazing feeling, isn't it? Yeah,
definitely. Like, or even like I was talking to someone about this the other day, even just writing, you know, like you get people out there that tries to be so original to write original pieces, like whether that's in music, like piano or lyrics or whatever, and it takes you a long time to try to be that original. And then we were talking about like people coming over and kind of just stealing people's lyrics and stuff, or stealing rapping styles. Like I call them template flows, where some like Drake would do a template of a flow and people would just fill in the words and do the same flow. And it's like, you can't do that. Like someone has spent a lot of time kind of like constructing that flow to be a certain way. So I feel people should appreciate and like support their friends in that way, to just be as original as possible and to keep pushing their stuff as much as possible as well. Something that I've been focusing a lot in the last couple of weeks, like telling all my friends around me, I'm like, bro, don't overthink it, put it out. Don't overthink it, like just do it. Basically, instead of like, let's do less talking and more doing, and then watch how things will flourish. And it is.
Definitely.
It is,
definitely. That's what I do with the podcast, we'll just put it out there. I know that not every episode will be like, in my eyes, perfect, but I love every episode that we've put out, and it's just to talk to people like yourself who are really inspirational, telling their stories, I absolutely love. So thank you. And thank you. Thank you. I love it. Talk about kind of writing your lyrics though. What's your process of writing a track? Do you tend to write first, then create a beat, or get the beat first, then write? What's your kind of process of when you write?
I do beat first. I think beat first always works better, because every beat has a different energy. Every beat has a drop or something. So I like writing it to the music. I have done things in the past where, for example, I write to a certain tempo and then that beat can get changed, if that makes sense. So I can do that, but I'd always prefer to write to the music, so I can write according to how it's going to go, how it feels, if you know what I mean. So for me, beat always first.
Sick. And have you had any kind of mentors growing up in the industry as well? Was it being down to your own kind of work ethic to learn as much as you can?
I think it's been me building a work ethic, I think, over the years. I've had a lot of friends that have shown me the ways in certain things. Like shout out to Nutty P. He showed me a lot when I first kind of started out. Showed me the ways of maybe how to put a song together and stuff like that. But then you kind of just take it upon yourself to learn, right? And I've always been kind of a person not to ask too much of people, if you know what I mean, to kind of stand on 2 feet and take the advice on board, or take whatever I need to take on board, and to just do it myself. So over the years, I wouldn't say much mentors, but I've definitely got people I look up to that I can get advice from, and vice versa with them. So I think it's very important to build a work ethic and to know who you are and how you work. So that's going to be like a foundation to go forward for a long time. Do you know what I mean? And not to be able to rely on others all of the time. So
of course, I'm just like you, where I as much as I love to learn from people, I do, and I'm like you. I've got my kind of like, I haven't got a proper mentor, but I have mentors, if that makes sense, of different people I look up to. And but at the same time, I always hate asking a million questions from people. Like, I'm this, about that. Kind of pissing people off. Like, shut up, man, leave me alone. Like, but
let's start asking questions as well. It'll be a million questions, and then it's like.
I'm just like you, but I've had those people in my life who have really, really helped me so much. Like, I've mentioned a few times in different episodes, my friend who's like a brother to me called Rob Littlejohn from BBC, to my other friend who's like really close to me, another brother called Adam Kamenetsky, who's part of the orchestra as well. Other people like that who have given me such incredible advice over the years about how to approach different things, and try it this way and don't do it that way, write it down this way. And that's why every bit of advice I get from everyone, I cherish and put it into my own way of doing it. So, man.
It's such a big thing, like to be able to know that you've got the capacity to like do it yourself as well. I think a lot of people stress a lot and maybe don't like need to believe in themselves more. And that's something that I had to do over the last 10 years, to realize like, hold on, I've got the ability to do this one way or another. When there's a will, there's a way, and you will get things done. And slowly but surely things start to fall into place. And then even like building my own studio, I realized that like maybe 6-7 years ago, I was like, I'm not paying to go to someone else's studio to record tracks, when I could just literally roll out of my bed and do it. So now it took a long time for those vocals to get to a point where even I could send them to someone and they won't be like, what the hell is this? Like, because you know, it's all good having the studio, but then it's learning like how to clean those vocals, how to make them the best so that it's used well. And when it gets mixed and mastered, like that took a long time. But now I feel so much more confident. I can send them anywhere and there's no problem. And to get to that point, you do feel kind of like proud of yourself after a while. It's just like, it took about 7 years, but here we are. Like,
That's amazing. And that's why I'm so proud of you, because I know how difficult it is, and you've achieved so much, and everything that you put out there is incredible. And I can tell that you've crafted everything with precision as well, which I love. And it's not just like that kind of like what I call it, kind of like content filler, where it's like releasing tracks like for the sake of it. Everything you put out there is of high quality. The videos, the visuals, the audio, sick. So keep up.
Yeah,
I love it, man. But what kind of adding to that as well, like what have been some of the best lessons you've learned since starting your musical journey? You mentioned obviously about the quality of your work as well. What are the best? What are the best lessons that you learned since starting?
Some of the best stuff I would say is to rely on yourself and to believe in yourself, in myself, to a point where there can't be any doubt. If you're going to create from the heart, there can't be any doubt about what you're doing, or there can't be anything conflicting, if you know what I mean. So I realized I was doing that. I was saying I want it to sound like this, but it would end up like this. I want it to be hard, but then I wouldn't write it hard. Do you know what I mean? It's like realizing that when you connect with yourself fully, it kind of just everything writes itself. And to maybe be connected to the universe in that way, like that's how I feel. I call it the source or the universe or whatever, but I know some people would say God, but it's just that kind of connection with something that you realize that it's like, this is bigger than me, and I'm just like a messenger here writing it, expressing it for somebody, hopefully to feel a way, like to change their lives or to make them feel better, or you know what I mean. I think once I started to get a bit older and started realizing there's a real purpose behind this, and as I said before, I think the main thing is not to know when to ask for help, but not to rely on someone. To rely on yourself and to get stuff done, you would just feel so much more rewarded at the end of it. And also I feel like then I can help others as well if I learned those skills. Do you know what I mean? So I think some of the biggest lessons is just to have no doubt and to just move forward. And if you're going to create and put it out, and somebody will come along and somebody will hear that stuff and it will make a difference. Like,
love that. Love that.
So that's what I'm moving it now, George.
But you know what? I always love to finish on a really positive and great message like that. But before we go, though, is there anything you want to share or promote before we leave?
Check out the stuff, man. Janset Music, everything online, and the YouTube Jan Up the Set. Me and Kylo's new song is out. Go and check that out. And new stuff coming.
Wicked, man. Wicked. Janset, it was an absolute pleasure to talk to you. I've missed you so much. And thank you for being part of my podcast. Thank you. That's the end of the, anytime. End of the episode. Peace.